here is our menu button that gets us into all of our menu systems, which we will go into all of that in a different video so that we can really get into detail there. And then next to that is your infrared sensor on the back. So if that gets covered up and you're trying to use infrared sensors, that might cause you some trouble. If we move over, this is your diopter adjuster. So if you are like me and you wear glasses or contacts and you like to have your diopter adjusted, just be sure to look through your viewfinder and adjust that while you're looking through so that it becomes in focus for you personally and you're ready to go. And if anything ever looks really wonky, check your diopter because it might have gotten rotated. And then next to that is a very important button. It is the info button. So it gets you into that original info screen that the info button up here does. But then if you hit it again, it allows you to make all of your adjustments to your camera settings. So really quick and really easy to get to that just by hitting that once, twice. Once it's highlighted like this, then you can adjust all of those. And again, we're going to go through that whole screen and what all that stuff means and how we adjust it a little bit later. Next to that button is your auto exposure and autofocus lock button. So that's extremely helpful if you're trying to lock your exposure for video stuff or for still stuff. And it also is your protection button on recorded images or videos. If you want to protect them, you hit that and it puts a little lock sign on it and you're good to go. You can't like format it out of the card or anything. Next to that is just your dial that allows you to do different selections in different menus. Then we move and go to the playback button, which just is a playback button. You can review your video and your photos from there. And then underneath that is your autofocus point selector, as well as your arrows to move through a number of different menu things, and we'll talk about all the functions it does in different menus later. But it allows you to pick your autofocus point, so if you're ready to take your picture and you're looking through, you can hit your arrows and move through the 11 different autofocus points that this camera has, depending on your autofocus mode, of course, because sometimes it has 3D tracking and other things. But the OK button will move you right back to the center of your autofocus point options of those 11 points. So that's a quick way to jump back to the center for your autofocus. And then underneath that is your zoom in and out button. Both of them are really handy. The zoom in button is helpful when you're focusing for video and you want to go ahead and check your focus really clearly on your LCD screen and make sure that you're perfectly set where you want to be. And then the zoom out button additionally is like a help button. So if you're in the menu or you're looking at different settings somewhere, you can, and you're not sure what it is, you can hit that zoom out button and it'll give you just a little blurb about what's going on there. Next to that is our trash button. It's pretty simple. It doesn't really do anything but delete things. Above that is this little light that lights up green. If you take a picture, I'll take a picture here real quick and show you. Maybe. It lights up green. And that shows that the picture's recording. So don't take your SD card out while that's happening, or you might damage your files. It also tells you that the SD card is inserted correctly when you pop it in and out. If it's correct, it'll light back up and be like, oh, good job, your SD card's in there and functional and ready to go. Additionally, this camera has a flippable LCD guy, so you can, shoot from underneath if you really, or you probably couldn't see that because it's above the camera. You can flip it a number of different ways and then go ahead and protect it when you're storing it and pop it out when you're shooting in for anything. And that's the whole back, really. The bottom, the only thing besides the battery is your tripod mount. And that's pretty much it for the camera body. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our info menu. So I just hit the info button up here on top, but you can also get there by hitting this button. So on the back, your info change button here will get you to this menu. And as you can see all your different settings that you can go ahead and change for your shot. If you hit it twice, it's going to go ahead and get you into the screen where you can change stuff. So this screen is the one where you can alter your image and your settings. As you can see, we're in manual mode, and so I'm going to be able to change everything I want, so I can go through all the different settings with you. The first one that shows up is just your quality settings. So obviously, I typically am shooting in RAW, uncompressed files, but you have some options there of what kind of RAW files you want, and if you want some JPEG recording as well. On the bottom you have a basic JPEG, a normal JPEG, fine JPEG, and then your RAW, just a RAW file, but you can also record RAW with a basic JPEG, a normal, or a fine. So you have a few options. I live on RAW all the time, so I'm putting it back to that. Then if you go down, you can adjust your white balance. If you go in, of course, you have auto, all these different white balance options to go through. And you can also have a preset or manual white balance, and you go ahead and set that in your menu options so that it's locked already, and then you can get to it real quick. So if you have a white balance situation that you use regularly, you can have it saved as your preset. We'll leave it at auto for now. Underneath that, we have our ISO sensitivity. So we start at 100 and can go all the way through to our different ISOs and get different lighting options for different situations. It's very quick and handy to get to. And then our release mode. So we have single frame, continuous, so you can hold the shutter down and take a bunch. Your self timer, which is set to 10 seconds, which you can also get to with that button in the front I told you about. If you're using remotes, you have a couple different remote options, and also a quiet shutter release that's just a little bit quieter if you're in a church or somewhere where you don't want loud shutter sounds. So that's your release mode. Underneath that is your focus mode. We have a few different focus modes in this camera. You have autofocus, auto, servo focus, so that'll go ahead and select what the camera thinks is best for you, whether it's going to be a single point or a continuous point focus. And the camera will just decide. And then you have autofocus for a single point, and you go ahead and pick the point and it focuses for you. You'll have autofocus servo continuous, and that'll go ahead and track a moving object for you throughout the frame as long as it stays in there. Bring that menu back. Or manual focus, of course. So, we'll go out of manual so that we can look at this other option. So then you also have different autofocus modes. You have your single point autofocus where you can move it around to those 11 different points and it'll automatically focus there for you. And then a dynamic area focus where you'll pick a point, and then the points around that point will be included as possible focus options as well. It can be helpful for moving objects. And then you have a 3D tracking where it uses the 11 points. You halfway click and select your moving object with that 3D tracking, and then it goes ahead and sticks with that object as long as it stays in the frame. It can be useful. And then auto area focus where it picks the point that it thinks you might want to focus on. I never use it because it drives me crazy. And then we have our different metering modes. So matrix metering looks at the whole frame and decides what it wants to do. Center weighted metering does exactly what it sounds like. It goes ahead and grabs information from the center. And then spot metering picks the spot that you have your focus area selected for and meters from there. So in Nikons, you have something called dynamic lighting, active D-lighting, and you have different levels of that. So it just goes ahead and brings in more information from the highlights and shadows. And you can go ahead and have that set how you want it to in different situations, or leave it on auto depending on things and the mode of, the mood of the picture that you want. Sometimes you want it high and sometimes you don't. And then you have your auto bracketing, so you can quickly change your auto bracketing levels, but you have to have your auto bracketing, the number of bracketed photos and other things set in your menu. And we'll look at that a little bit later, how we do that. But that just lets you change your levels real quick. If you scoot over, you can get your picture control set really quickly. So standard, it has a little asterisk by mine because I alter my standard settings and just have it a little more custom for me. Neutral, vivid, monochrome, portrait, landscape, and movie. So you have a few options there and you can get to them really quickly. I pretty much stick to standard. Exposure compensation, like I said, there's a few different buttons that you can get to that with, but this is a quick way to get to your different exposure compensation options if you want to use those. And then you have flash compensation. It's quick right there. You can easily get to your flash compensation if you're going to use that. If your flash is open, then this will light up and you can change your flash mode. So this is just red eye reduction mode, the one with the little eye next to it. Then you have a rear curtain sync option as well in manual so that you can create light trails if that is what you want to do instead of front curtain sync, which is the automatic option in Nikon. So those are your options for the back and everything you can change back there. It's a quick, easy way to alter all of your settings. Hey guys, thanks for watching the Nikon D5100 videos. Please check us out on Facebook on the links below in the description. You can check out David D Images, the Media Unlocked Facebook, and my studio's Facebook at Spotlight Photo. Have a good one. Bye.